Buddhism on rebirth and reincarnation. Rebirth is not reincarnation. Understanding rebirth in Buddhism. Rebirth, or punarbhava, is a key idea in Buddhist thought, offering a view of the continuity of existence. It is not about a soul moving to another body, but the ongoing flow of experience, a process of change and interconnectedness. This interconnectedness comes from dependent origination, or paticca samuppada. This teaching shows how all things come about because of a web of conditions and actions. It's like a spider's web, where each strand connects to all the others. A change in one area affects everything else. This interconnection is the basis of the Buddhist perspective on existence. We often think of ourselves as one unchanging thing, a self that lasts. Buddhism presents a different understanding. It doesn't speak of a soul, but of a stream of consciousness, citta santana. This is not a fixed thing, but a process, a flow of experiences. It's made up of parts: citta, mind, the base awareness, and cetasika, mental factors, which shape our experiences like feelings. Then, there is vijnana, the awareness that recognizes an object. The stream of consciousness is not a fixed identity. It's more like a wave in the ocean. Our actions, words, and thoughts create what Buddhists call karma. Karma is not a reward or punishment system. It's a natural law of cause and effect. It's the imprint of our intentions. Each intentional act leaves a potential in our mind. This karmic energy shapes our future experiences, much like a seed that grows into a plant. For example, someone who is kind and generous builds tendencies toward well-being, while someone who causes harm develops tendencies toward unhappiness. To understand this, consider a person who was often critical and negative. They spent years complaining about their life. After learning about karma, they chose to notice the impact of their actions and words. They realized they were in a cycle of negativity and suffering. Through practicing kindness, patience, and compassion, they changed their habits. As they changed their actions, their life changed, showing how we shape our karmic stream. Buddhism explains it's the process, not a self, that moves from one life to the next. This is the idea of anatta, or no self. The self we believe in is a concept, a collection of fleeting experiences, like a mirage. It seems real, but it's an illusion. The Buddha said there's no permanent soul that is reborn. It's the flow of consciousness. Misunderstanding I or the ego is often the cause of suffering. This understanding is essential. Finally, understanding rebirth relates to how we live now. By practicing mindfulness and meditation, we can experience the changes in our minds, feelings, and perceptions. We see the flow of consciousness and how it's shaped by our past actions and tendencies. It's seeing directly, not just believing. Through this experience, we can understand the teachings on rebirth and the way to freedom from suffering. The teachings point towards seeing through illusions so we can experience life from truth. Reincarnation in other traditions. The concept of life continuing beyond death is a recurring theme across many spiritual and philosophical traditions, often manifesting as the idea of reincarnation. However, it's crucial to understand that these notions of reincarnation differ significantly in their specifics and, crucially, in their understanding of what it is that continues. These traditions typically share a common thread, the belief in a permanent soul or self. But they diverge in how this soul is conceived and what its journey entails. In early Hinduism, the concept of Atman is central. The Atman is regarded as the true essence of an individual, an unchanging and eternal core. It's often described as a spark of the divine, residing within each person. Reincarnation, in this context, is seen as the process by which the Atman transmigrates from one physical body to another upon death. The goal is not merely to continue existing, but rather to eventually break free from the cycle of birth and death, samsara, and reunite with Brahman, the ultimate reality. This reunification is the ultimate liberation, or moksha. The path towards this liberation involves accumulating good karma through virtuous actions and devotion, and also requires understanding the nature of reality and one's true self. Ancient Greek philosophy also explored the concept of an immortal soul. Plato, for example, posited the existence of a soul that is distinct from the physical body and is capable of existing before and after bodily life. He viewed reincarnation as a process by which the soul, initially perfect and possessing innate knowledge, becomes entangled in the material world and undergoes a series of lives. For Plato, the purpose of these lives was for the soul to purify itself from the ignorance and attachments that come with being embodied, and to regain its original state of perfection through philosophy and reason. The Sikh tradition introduces the concept of Atma, often seen as a spark of the divine that resides within each individual. Similar to Hinduism, Sikhism views reincarnation as a continuous cycle of birth and death, with the Atma transmigrating from one life to the next. The determining factor in the quality of the next life is the individual's actions in their current life. This process continues until the Atma merges with God. This merging is seen as the ultimate goal of existence and is achieved through devotion, meditation, and selfless service. The process of merging with God is called mukti. In all of these traditions, the core concept is the belief in a permanent soul, a stable, unchanging essence that continues its journey through multiple lifetimes. This journey is often motivated by a desire for purification, union with the divine, or to achieve a higher state of being. The soul is the central feature, the constant entity that moves from life to life. This is very different from what the Buddha taught, which, rather than a permanent soul, points toward a flow of energy, a continuity of experience, and an emphasis on the process rather than on a permanent thing. It is this very distinction that is key to understanding how the Buddhist teaching differs. Key differences between rebirth and reincarnation. Rebirth, as taught by the Buddha, completely rejects the concept of a permanent, unchanging self, offering an entirely different understanding of continuity, one grounded in the principles of impermanence and no self. The Buddhist teaching of anatta is paramount here. It's not merely an abstract philosophical concept, but a fundamental insight into the nature of reality. Anatta does not deny continuity, but it asserts that what continues is not a fixed entity, but rather a constantly changing stream of consciousness, conditioned by causes and actions. This stream of consciousness is a flux of mental and physical experiences. It's not something that can be pinned down as a single lasting thing. This understanding has profound implications for how we see ourselves and our place in the world. This difference in understanding extends to the nature of suffering and the path to liberation. In traditions that posit a permanent soul, suffering is often seen as a result of the soul's entanglement with the material world, or a karmic debt that needs to be resolved over multiple lifetimes. The path to liberation involves purifying the soul through righteous actions, devotion, and, ultimately, the soul achieving union with the divine. However, in Buddhism, suffering is understood as an intrinsic aspect of existence, arising from attachment and clinging to the illusion of a permanent self. The path to liberation, therefore, involves uprooting this attachment through cultivating wisdom and letting go of the illusion of I and mine. The Milinda Panha illustrates this difference through the analogy of the flame. The flame of one lamp is used to light another lamp, but the flame is not the same, yet there is a connection. This shows that what continues is a flow of energy, driven by cause and effect, but there isn't a movement of a fixed thing. This is not to deny continuity, but to deny the existence of a permanent self. The Buddhist analysis of mental formations, or sankharas, is crucial to understanding how this continuity unfolds. It's through the continual arising of mental formations, conditioned by past actions and intentions, that the stream of consciousness continues. These formations are not a self, but they are the processes that shape our experiences and tendencies, perpetuating the cycle of rebirth. It is our habits and tendencies that are carried forward, not a soul or a self. The analogy of a mango tree, as presented in the Pathapada Sutta, provides another useful perspective. The seed becomes a tree, which then yields fruit, and in that fruit are more seeds. There is a flow of continuation. The seed does not carry a fixed self to the next stage, but it contains the potential for future growth. Just like this, the stream of consciousness carries the potential for future experiences, but it is not a self that is moving to the next stage. Therefore, the key divergence between rebirth and reincarnation lies in their opposing views of the self and the path to freedom. This profound difference has a direct impact on how we understand our place in the world and the purpose of our actions. These are not just different concepts, they are vastly different views of reality, which demand serious contemplation. Understanding the process of death and rebirth. The process of death and rebirth, as understood in Buddhism, is not about a soul moving to a new body. It's about the end of one set of experiences and the start of another. This is driven by karmic energy shaped by past actions. It's a complex process that can be understood through the teachings and by looking at our own minds. The moment of death, known as the Kuddhicitta, is the last moment of consciousness in this life. This is followed by a linking consciousness, known as the Patisandhi Citta, which is the start of consciousness in the next life. This linking consciousness is not random. It's conditioned by the karmic energy from our past life. This karmic force drives our stream of consciousness into a new existence, dependent on what we've done before. The 5 aggregates: physical form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness are not permanent. They are always changing, especially when we die. The physical form ends, the senses stop working, and the mental formations lose their connection to the stream of consciousness. What remains is the potential for new experiences shaped by past karma. This is not a transfer of a soul. It is a continuation of a process based on cause and effect. The Chachaka Sutta shows how consciousness plays a role in this process. The Buddha explained how consciousness arises from the interaction of the senses and their objects, and how, at death, this consciousness dissolves. This teaching shows that consciousness is not fixed and depends on the 5 aggregates and 6 sense bases. When these conditions end, consciousness ends and gives rise to a linking consciousness. This linking consciousness is the beginning of our new existence within the different realms. These realms are not places, but states of being determined by our karma. They are often divided into 3 main types: the realm of sense desire, the realm of form, and the formless realm. Within the realm of sense desire, there are 11 realms. These realms are filled with sensual experiences and desires. The lower realms include the hells, filled with suffering, the animal realms, marked by instinct, the realms of hungry ghosts, with constant craving, and the Ashura realms, with conflict. The human realm is also here, offering a chance to create both positive and negative karma. In this realm of sense desire, there are also 6 heavenly realms, which are filled with pleasure. These can be temporary, and rebirth here is still part of the cycle of suffering. The realm of form has 16 realms where the mind is very focused and experiences are less connected to the senses. Here, the beings experience joy from meditation. The beings in these realms have achieved higher levels of focus through meditation in past lives. The formless realm has 4 realms, where only consciousness remains. The mind is free from the body, and experiences here are purely mental. These realms are reached through deep meditation, filled with peace. The beings here have gone beyond the body and experienced the highest levels of concentration. Understanding this has a powerful effect on how we live. By observing our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, we can see how our experiences continue into the next life. The impermanence of everything we experience is the same flow that continues after death. Understanding our present experience can help us to understand the nature of rebirth. Mindfulness can help us see how our thoughts shape our future. Through observation, we can understand impermanence and let go of attachments, preparing for change, which includes death. This understanding helps us to face the fear of death. Knowing death is a transition can bring peace. It encourages us to live well, knowing our choices impact our stream of consciousness and future experiences. Therefore, death and rebirth are not mysteries, but processes influenced by karma. The linking consciousness creates the potential for new experiences conditioned by past actions. Through mindfulness and understanding cause and effect, we can navigate this process with more clarity. This understanding invites us to create the conditions for future well-being. Modern understanding and daily practice. The Buddhist understanding of rebirth is not just a philosophical idea, it has practical implications for how we live our lives today. Modern science, while not yet fully able to explain the phenomenon of consciousness, has begun to explore the nature of the mind and its relationship to the body. This exploration offers some interesting perspectives that align with some Buddhist teachings about the interconnectedness of mind and body, but also, it demonstrates how much we are still to discover about reality. From a Buddhist perspective, the key to a meaningful life is not about searching for a better rebirth, but about cultivating wisdom and compassion, and letting go of the illusion of a fixed self. The understanding that our actions have consequences is not a call to fear, but a call to responsibility. When we recognize the impact of our thoughts, words, and deeds, we are encouraged to live more ethically and mindfully, creating conditions for well-being for ourselves and others. The teachings on impermanence, no self, and the law of cause and effect are not abstract theories. They are insights into the nature of our own experience. Meditation is a way of directly experiencing these truths. Through mindful observation of our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, we can begin to see how these experiences are always changing and how they arise and pass away. This can help us to let go of our attachments and find greater peace, and to also see the reality of our lives. There are many stories of people who have recalled past lives. While these stories can be intriguing, the Buddha emphasized the importance of focusing on the practical aspects of the teachings, rather than getting caught up in speculation. The key is to live in the present moment and apply what we know of the Dharma to our daily life, which will have the largest impact on our future. In the Malunkyaputta Sutta, the Buddha addresses a monk who is caught up in metaphysical speculations. The Buddha advises him not to get caught up in the theoretical aspects of reality, and instead focus on what brings freedom from suffering. This means focusing on what is practical and helpful in our journey towards liberation and finding peace in our lives. Therefore, the understanding of rebirth is not about becoming something else in the future, but it is about transforming who we are right now. This involves cultivating wisdom, compassion, and ethical conduct, so we are creating positive conditions for ourselves and for the world. It also includes practices like meditation and mindfulness, which provide a method for directly seeing the nature of our experiences, including the ever-changing flow of our own consciousness. The Buddhist path is about finding freedom, peace, and well-being in this very life. This does not mean that the teachings on rebirth are unimportant, but they are important in that they show us how our actions impact the flow of our consciousness and our experience of reality, as well as the experiences of those around us. The path is about transforming our experience by changing our habits and by understanding the nature of the stream of consciousness. This is why Buddhist practice is so relevant for living a life of purpose and meaning. So, the Buddhist teachings on rebirth provide a framework for understanding the nature of existence, our place in the cycle of life and death, and the path to liberation. It encourages us to live with awareness, compassion, and wisdom. It points us toward a life lived with purpose and meaning, free from the illusion of a fixed self, and grounded in the understanding of cause and effect.